Hey guys, welcome back to my Chakra UI Crash Course where we're building a dev portfolio website. Today, super exciting video. We're finally getting into some real coding and we're going to build the navbar and footer. And I just want to preface this video, I was not trying to turn it into a React crash course, but I can't help myself because there's so many complex things that I feel like I can really understand and teach you now. So let's get started. I'm going to hit record. On a personal note, I found my Aura ring after 6 weeks of it being lost. So I'm feeling really good this morning. Okay, so just a reminder of where we're at with our website. So it obviously currently looks like this, horror scenes, but don't worry, we're going to fix it up today. So the first thing we want to do, we'll go to VS Code. And I just want to actually clear out the CSS files. So with Vite or Vite, someone let me know in the comments, you get app.css and index.css by default. And I just find it's, for me at least, best use case just to clear this out and use your styling with your React components. So with Chakra UI. So you can see we've got slightly different styling now, which is all okay. Alrighty, so we'll get started with our navbar and I'm just gonna, again, clear out what we've got there and I'm just gonna start with a box so we don't have an error while we're mapping out our, I'm just gonna go again with box so it gives me the closing tag so we don't have an error while we are mapping out our different links. So I just want to also mention I've started to use Prettier, which is an extension, and you'll see that it naturally got rid of the brackets for me, and I've just found this to be so helpful when I'm coding because it just makes my code look so much better. So get on Prettier if you haven't already. Okay, so we're gonna basically start with declaring a constant links and we're gonna set it to an array. So I just want to explain this because it's sometimes not that obvious. So when you go constant something something equals square brackets, this means that you're declaring an array inside the square brackets. Alrighty, and then what we're going to do now is actually start with curly braces. And the curly braces here, I want you to remember this for later in the video. The curly braces here mean that a JS object literal, like a key value pair, is going to exist inside this. And this is going to be different from what we're doing in our expression in our return function. So what we're going to do is we're going to go label, and here I'm setting the different pages. So if you remember in our section, so we're going to have a home, and we need to set the H reference to hashtag home. So that gives the ID of home. Okay, and I just want to explain this a little more because I feel like this was a little confusing for me at the start, but now I really get the grasp of it. So like I said, inside the curly braces, we're declaring an object literal, and an object literal has key value pairs, key value, right? And so what that means is this is the key, label is the key, and home is its value, and the same for H reference. So when you hear key value, just remember key and value. Okay, so I'm just going to extrapolate those for the other 3 links, and bear with me, I'll do this pretty fast if I can. So we're going to do home, and then we're going to have about, and I'm not putting the hero in here because when I go to home, you'll be able to see home, and that's a bit weird to have in your navbar. Like no one knows what hero is. That's just like developer jargon, right? Okay, and we're going to go project. It should be projects, I think. Yeah, let's go projects. Not with Z. Projects, and then we're going to have contact as our last one. And hashtag contact. Okay, great. And you'll have we just need to add commas between each of the lines. Great. And you'll see that we're going to have a yellow squiggly line, and this is because we are declaring the constant links, but we're never actually calling it in our function. So don't worry about that. We will definitely fix that up now. So in terms of our navbar, I'm going to use a few Chakra UI components, and I'm going to just speak them through with you now. So if we go start building, and we go components. So we're obviously going to start with box, which just imagine this is going to shell out our navbar, and you'll use box quite a lot if you're using Chakra. And then the next item I want to use is HStack. And you'll see a lot of creators, if you're watching new tutorials, use HStack. And what I found quite confusing with the Chakra UI docs is the search functionality is not that good. And so what you actually need to do in layout, you just go to stack. And basically HStack is short for horizontal stack, right? There's two ways you can do it. You can either use stack with the direction row. So you'll see it here in the code, stack direction row, and we're stacking items left to right. Or you can just use HStack, which is the abbreviation. So we're going to use that to stack our, we're going to have a logo and then our links left to right. And there's still custom styling you can do. So we probably want more gap between our logo and our links than the links themselves, but don't worry, we'll get to that. The other component we want to use is image, so that will be shelling out our logo, obviously, and then we're going to use link to define or connect what we just did in VS Code. So that's the four components we're going to use as part of our navbar. Okay, so let's just set up that HStack. And like I said with Prettier, once I add HStack in, great, it's going to add the brackets in for us. So that's good. And we've already imported HStack, so that's great. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is actually, I'm just going to change the background color of the box so we can see it a little clearer. Wow, what am I doing? Background equals white, and this is just going to make it quite distinguishable against our background. I'll show you what it looks like now. And we just want to add some padding around it. So obviously we have nothing now in our background. So I'm just going to introduce you to two different padding options. And this padding X adds padding left and right. And we're going to start with, I think 8 is what I usually use. And this is 8 rems. So it's where 1 rem is equivalent to 16 pixels. So it'll be quite a lot, but I think that's good for now. And then, so that's left and right. And then we're going to add padding Y, and I think I'm going to use 4, just as a starting point so we can see what's going on. So this is obviously padding, so that's going to add it around our elements. So just so we can see that, yep, we've got our navbar all working, gives us a little bit of confidence when we're coding, right? Okay, so let's start first with importing the logo. So I just want to show you my new logo. Great. I went through a few iterations of doing this in Canva, but at the end of this video, stick around because I'm actually going to talk through colors and how I would approach working with colors that already exist and how you can use Canva to make your logo feel like the website. So stick around for that at the end of the video, but let's use this logo for now. So if you'll remember in my previous video, we were talking about those path aliases, right? So I'm actually going to import tier code's logo, and this is just what I'm declaring the import to be from. And what I want to actually do is go at, and I want to have assets, right? But I obviously need to make some changes in my path aliases. So if you remember, we need to do those changes in TypeScript app.json and vite.config.json. So if we start with TypeScript app.json, this is declaring that I want to create the path aliases for assets. I'm just copying what I did with UI, and I'm just going to add a comma in here. And basically just remember that our assets folder is at the same level as our components folder. So we're just basically telling TypeScript, when I type at assets, just find at assets in the source directory. And this means you don't need to add src in front of your code. So I've hit Control S, and the next thing I want to do is do the same in Vite. So we're copying again the UI, and when we go at assets, path.resolve from this current working directory, which is src-assets. And that should allow us to create our new import. So let's just add a / there, and there we go. I just want to mention also, if you do have any errors here, there's a few commands you can run in your terminal, and that being, so the first one is npm run typegen, and this just refreshes your typings. I did have some errors previous to creating this video, so you may want to try that. The other option is obviously just refresh your dev server, and I think when you're making these changes, it can cause stale paths in either Vite or TypeScript. So those are two little tidbits for you. Okay, so now we want to add our image inside of our code. So we're going HStack, and what we're going to do is add image. And this is an interesting import, right? Because when you try and click image and try and import it, it gives you an error. So what you actually need to do is just like manually import it from Chakra UI. And I'm not 100% sure why. I think this is because like it thinks image is, React component renders an image for support with fallback options. See, like it does recognize it when you manually import it. So I'm not sure why VS Code doesn't like give us this option. Okay, and then what we're going to do is add our src as that, what we defined above, tier code's logo. Great, and we should be able to see the logo now. I was assuming it to be really big, and let me give you the backstory to this, right? Here's my logo in Canva. So I had a different logo that was like 48 pixels by 48 pixels, which I just created for like this icon. And I couldn't find the larger version that I made. And then I put it in my Navbar and I was like, oh, it looks terrible. I'm just going to make it again. So that's why we're importing the logo like that. So let's just make it a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is go with box size of 40. And I think that's standard from memory in this kind of like area. And I'm not going to use the rem. I'm going to use pixels just because I know how to translate this better without trying to do the calculation. So you can use a mix. Probably best practices is to not use a mix of pixels and rem, but we're not professionals yet, right? And then the last thing I just want to show you, yeah, that size feels pretty good. Maybe a little bit larger, but let's see when we add the links in. The next thing I want to do is actually just round the edges off of my logo. So what you do is you go border radius, and remember with Chakra, they use like MD or LG for large. And so I'm going to go MD because I think that gives like a modern feel. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that logo looks. Alrighty, so the next part of this video, not going to lie, is a little bit like difficult, or I've been like, what's the word when you put something off? What's that word when you put something off? Like, I've been procrastinating around creating this part of the video because I'm a bit nervous that I'm not going to be able to get it right, but let's try. Okay, so under the image, I'm going to start with curly braces, and I'm starting with curly braces because I'm telling TypeScript I'm going to write a JavaScript expression or a TypeScript expression in this block of code. So remember when we're coding in JSX or TSX, it's a mix of HTML syntax, like this type of syntax, and JavaScript expressions or TypeScript expressions. So I just want to mention that. I know this is implicitly typed, and I just want to flag that this is actually declaring an object literals, which is different from the expression. So I hope that makes sense, but that's getting us started. So we're going to go links.map, and this is going to iterate over our array and then render a link element for each of, like that's the intention of what we're going to do, of each of our labels up here. So I'm going to start with links.map, and I'm going to do one set of brackets and open that up, and then I'm going to do another set, and this is where I'm creating the arrow function. Great. Okay. So basically what we want to do is we're going links.map, and then we're going to destructure our array with curly braces. So basically what you do is you add the curly braces in, and we're going to go label and then href. Great. And then basically we've got the arrow function, and now we just add the link in here. So I'm hoping this is going to work. I'm going to be really embarrassed if it doesn't. And we go, let's just update that import. Okay, and we're getting errors here because we haven't added this into our arrow function. Like we have all destructured elements unused. Okay, so we've effectively destructured. Let's go. Okay, so next what we're going to do is just add the key and the H reference into our link. And then once we do that, I'm just going to explain what these actually mean, because it didn't really make sense to me like before, but I think it really does make sense to me now. So I hope it makes sense to you here. So key equals href, and then href equals curly braces href. Okay, guys, did we do it? We did it. Let's go. Oh my gosh, I feel so happy. Okay, and we're just adding the label. And remember, this is like the HTML type syntax. So if we just have a look at, oh my gosh, we did it, let's go. Okay, and we can see the IDs are working, great. Okay, so let's just clean this up a little bit. Obviously, I want to explain what is actually going on here. So when I say destructuring, as in this bit of code, what I actually mean is, I'm just going to type below for you. So that is equal to, or like if I give you the full function, label href, and then if I create the arrow, basically this ... whatever, is equal to, and let me just like think about it in my head, is equal to the arrow function of like this, and then I go const label equals link dot label, and then the same, I don't know why I clicked enter, and then the same for href. So I hope that makes sense. So instead of doing like this kind of messy code, we've basically just destructured, and it's going to create a link element and where the key is href and the href is href. I hope that makes sense. Is there anything else I can kind of explain? Oh, let me talk about the document object model. So basically when key is equal to href, the reason why you need key is because React requires a prop or a key prop, like it needs key, when it's rendering a list of elements. So obviously we're calling our array here and we need to render them. And basically this helps effectively update the DOM. So the DOM is the document object model. I hope you've heard of it before. And I'm really starting to understand why React is so powerful, and this is why, right? So for example, I make a change in my array, basically giving this key, and when we talk about efficient update of the DOM, it matches old versus new. So say I update one, right? It only inserts I update. It only inserts or updates that one, not the whole array. So think about a bigger data set. We're not refreshing, like the DOM's not like tearing it down and then standing it back up. The same applies, like for example, if you change the order with contact and home, it's only reordering without losing its state. So I hope that kind of makes sense. And I guess the href is just like sending, when we see the hashtag in the URL, that's just like sending, we need the href because we're sending the URL to a unique link. Okay, and then obviously label is just like our label. So I hope that makes sense from this point of code view. What we're going to do now, obviously it's working, but we just need to probably adjust the styling a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some more margin in here. And obviously you need margin, not padding. So let's go back to VS Code, and in the image, I'm just going to add margin right, MR equals, and let's just add like 2, for example. How does that feel? Okay, we need more. Let's add 4. And as part of these tutorials, I'm not trying to give you a perfect website. I'm trying to show you how you can like play around with the code and give it a go, right? So obviously, you know, I might make some changes afterwards, but I hope to do it with you on the journey. All right, so now we're just going to add some different styling to our label. So I want to add some padding, both X and Y around the labels. I'm actually just kind of copy this here because we don't need to type it out. You guys know I have fat fingers when I'm creating these videos. And I'm just going to drop down the values. I think that's the usual values I use. Yes, that feels pretty good. Okay, and then we're just going to go back to VS Code, and I'm going to change the color of the text. So I'm just going to color, and this is using, I'm going to use one of the Chakra built-in colors. They spell gray with an A. Someone please tell me why. Okay, that's going to make our colors a little bit darker. Great. And then the next thing I'm going to show you is actually pretty cool, right? So what we do is, and you'll see that we got some more margin, or we got some more padding between the links, which is great. So what we're going to do is actually add a hover effect. So when I hover and click, you're going to see a different border radius. So from what I understand, right, and this is pretty interesting, when you search in these Chakra UI documents, remember when you're doing like vanilla CSS, you get hover and then you'll go like this. So it's actually very similar in React, but you actually just use underscore. So basically we're going underscore, hover, and then we're going to just change the background color. So I'm going to use, have I got an error here? I don't think so. So this is CSS syntax, so we need semicolons. I'm going to use pink.300, for example. Why have I got an error? Let's have a look. Type boolean is not assignable. Okay, that's interesting. What's going on here? Oh, because I have no equals. Okay. All right, so we're adding the background color of pink, and I am going to show you how to leverage AI to get these colors feeling better, but we're just going to implement the functionality for now, and then at the end of the video you can definitely stick around if you want to talk colors with me. And then we're just going to go on the same like border radius, so I'm actually just going to go use rounded here, and I'm going to use rounded MD. And then, and you can see Prettier already gave me the comma, and then I'm actually just going to use text decoration, and I'm not a fan of the underline, so basically you just go text decoration none, and that should give us a hover effect. Great. Okay, so that feels pretty good. Obviously the colors are like not super optimal, but I feel like that gives us a little bit of a inkling into how we could do a navbar using Chakra. All right, so I've got 12 minutes until I have to meet, I have a meeting this morning. So we're going to move on to our footer. Let's do it. We can do it in 12 minutes, I promise you. Okay, so we're starting with footer, and let's just clear out. And again, we're going to put our footer in a box just while we talk through our approach. Okay, great. So in footer, what elements are we going to use? We're going to use box to shell out our footer. And then we're going to use HStack again to horizontally stack the child elements. And then we're going to use link because we're going to add, really fun, we're going to add my GitHub link, my LinkedIn link, my YouTube link. I'm actually thinking about creating a Twitter because I feel like Twitter is a really good tool if you want to like learn while you're reading and like just doing a bit of phone time. So I think I'm going to create a Twitter. So let's add those 4 links in. And then with that being said, we're going to need icon because I don't want to put like LinkedIn with a like icon next to it. I just want to have the icons. I feel like that feels really clean and cool. We'll add an hover effect again. And then we're also going to use text. So text we're going to have, I actually saw online that someone suggested to use like copyright to copyright your own website, and it just like looks quite professional. So with the icons, we're going to use React icons. If you're a bit nosy in my when we were looking at my website, you might have seen that I was searching for React icons, and I just wanted to flag here with you that basically this GitHub pages is the React icons website. It's not that obvious, like you can see that I clicked on the npm one below. So just think about that, but basically you can just like search for LinkedIn, and this will give you different icons. And then I would suggest to use the same, like if you click on one and go like FA LinkedIn, just use the same kind of styling for all of the icons you're going to use. All right, so let's first start with our left side, which is going to be our copyright message. So I'm going back to VS Code. And the way I'm going to structure this up is I'm going to have HStack again, and I'm actually going to have 2 HStacks. So the HStack, this is like the overarching HStack, and then I'm going to put in like our text function. So I'll just like shell this out first and put text. And then I'm going to have another HStack, and this is going to shell out our icons on the right, and then we can use justify space between to separate them on the page. Okay, so let's just import text. I think we need to import text manually. Great. And HStack isn't happy. Because we didn't have a capital. Thank you, VS Code. Love you dearly. Okay, so let's start with the copyright. How cool is this, right? So if you just search copyright symbol, you can see I've searched it before. So basically you can just like copy the copyright symbol. So no need to like import an icon. And we're gonna start with adding the copyright symbol, right? Okay, fantastic. Whoa, what's happening? Control S, okay. Cool, and then we're going to use a JavaScript function here, or expression here, not a function, an expression, and we're going to just get the year of the current date. So basically the way you do this is you go new date, and this is built into like JavaScript, and this is, and then basically we'll just want to go .getFullYear, this is the method we're using, there we go, and open that up, and that's going to give us copyright and then 2025 right now because it's 2025. And let me just talk through a little bit like more about this. So obviously this is a JavaScript expression. New date creates a new date object. Like this is just the current date and time, and it might give you it in a funky way. And then basically we just want to take the full year. So that's just extracting the full year. I think that is pretty simple, but yeah, it's a really handy line of code to know about. Let's have a look at our website just so we can touch base with where we're looking. Okay, 2025. Again, let's just add the background color in and style out our box. I'm actually just going to copy what we did in the Navbar because no need to reinvent the wheel, hey? And it's good to have it all similar. Okay, great. So we'll have some better styling now. Great, and we just need to change the color of that copyright text. So if you go text, and in here, let's just add the color as, what were we using? Gray.500, gray with an A.500. Fantastic, we've got 7 minutes, let's go. Okay, so now we're gonna create the links inside of this HStack, and basically the way we wanna do like this code is we actually wanna have this, the overarching HStack as that justify space between. So I'm going to add that in now and just go justify equals space between. And you can see sometimes I get confused with the syntax, and I feel like as I start to code more in React, I get used to it, but then like say for the hover, then we're going back into semicolons, but it's all good. Like for example, if you add a semicolon in here and you get it wrong, you're going to get red squiggly lines, and then you're like, okay, equals, great, thank you very much. Okay, so let's add our links in. Link, not links. Link, okay, we just need to import link from Chakra because we don't have that in this footer file. And basically what we're going to do is just first add the href, and I've got the links copied above just to make it quicker for us. So basically just take your GitHub link, and I actually just changed my name because I had it as Tia Codes 2024 and I just changed it to 2025. So that will give us a link. And then this is the cool thing, right? So the next thing we want to do is inside the link, so you like think HTML syntax, we're going to use icon, and this is from Chakra. You need to import icon. And then so basically this is saying render this link as this icon component. I hope that makes sense. And then basically inside the icon component, we're going to use like the icon that we imported from React icons. So to import React icons, you basically just need to run npm import React icons. We could look at the documentation, but let's, okay, it doesn't, no, what is it? npm React, install, import, install React icons. See, it's not, like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's not that serious. Okay, great. Now we've got React icons. Just close that terminal off. And so what we're going to do is look for the GitHub icon. Great. GitHub, where are you? GitHub. Let's use, what one do we like? Like this one? FA? I never knew that, this is like a cat, right? I never knew that it had dots on the tail. Fantastic. Copy this over. And again, let's just explain this code. So we've got a link and we're rendering the code as a icon, or the link as an icon. This is the icon we're using. So we need to install this from React. Great. Let's have a look. How's it feeling? Oh, it doesn't like something. npm run dev. Cool. Okay, we obviously need to create some different like styling, but we've got it all working. So I'm just going to fix up that. Well, let's add the other links and then we can fix up the styling. How about that? So with the other links, how many minutes? I've got 3 minutes until my meeting. We can do it. Okay, so we're adding LinkedIn and basically, let's add YouTube first. Let's add LinkedIn first. LinkedIn. Great. And then we can do YouTube. And this is what I found using React icons. It's so easy because once you have one set of styling, you can just do the same and it will import them automatically for you. So it's like super quick, right? And then we're going to do, so we did LinkedIn, YouTube, we've got GitHub, oh, and Twitter. It's funny that they haven't renamed it to X yet. I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but when they go to Twitter, like I don't use Twitter a lot. When I go to Twitter and I see X, I feel like it's like, you know, scandalous material. And then so basically I need to create a Twitter profile, but hopefully I can make it the same name as my GitHub. Tia code, yep, great. And then my LinkedIn profile is just Tia Lynch. And so I'm pasting this in. I think you need HTTPS. Yep. And then my YouTube will have to come back for that because I don't have the link. I think it's just like youtube.tiacodes, but I'll have to come back for that. But let's just have a look because I do need to go to that meeting. And yeah, this is feeling really good. Like let's just click on the LinkedIn, for example. You'll be able to see it's working to my LinkedIn. Hello, this is who I am. And GitHub, for example, did that change work? Let's have a look. This is my GitHub, great. Okay, so that feels like pretty good. We'll just do some styling adjustments. I've got 1 minute, I've got to go, but we'll do some styling adjustments and then that's our navbar and footer. So I'll see you in half an hour after this meeting. All right, I'll see you soon, bye. Okay guys, so meeting is done, happy days. Let's just take stock of where we're at with our website. So I'm hitting record again, sorry for the interruption. And here we go. Okay, so let's just start by increasing the size of these logos and we just need to add some more spacing between them, or the icons rather. And something really interesting, right, I noticed the other day, so basically, you know how we were styling these as grey.500? You can actually put the color either in the link or the Chakra UI icon components. That's really interesting. But with the icon sizing, we do need to put this in the icon component. So I'm doing size equals LG, which is large. And from memory, before I copy this across, yeah, the icons are quite small in Chakra, or at least for what the purposes that we're using them for. So I'm just gonna add, oh, not in link, in icon, add size large. Here we go. V, Control V, Control V. Okay, and that should help with the size of our icons. Love it. Okay, and then let's just add a gap between them. So in the original HStack, remember we've got the overarching HStack here, which is separating the copyright from the icons. In this HStack, we can just go gap equals 4. That was a guess, I have no idea. Yeah, great, okay. And then let's just mirror up our hover effect. And on this hover effect, I'm actually gonna show you how to transform to like make it look clickable. If you've done a lot of vanilla CSS, you probably saw those in a lot of tutorials. So basically in the icon, what we're going to do is, again, we're gonna go _hover equals and double curly braces. And then let's add in a few styling changes. So I'm actually gonna go like black for now. Obviously, we're gonna look at the styling in ChatGPT, as I mentioned. And then we're going to go, I'm thinking, why do I have an error here? Again, we need semicolons here, not an equal sign, because this is back into, like, this is declaring we're in CSS world. Okay, and then we're going with transform. And I think if you use transform scale 1.1, that is going to work well for us. Let's have a look. Okay, so we've only got it on the GitHub icon for now. See that? Like, it feels quite clickable. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so let's just copy that down into our other icons on the page. Bear with me. As you see, when you're doing a lot of copying and pasting, the whole point of React is that you would actually create one element and then put all the styling on that element and then just import it. But you know, you can do it either way. There's no right or wrong way. I guess there's just a more clean way, but those all feel really good. I'm actually going to add more gap between them because they feel a little bit close together. So I'm going back to that master HStack, or not the master, just for these. And I'm going to go, let's go 8. Let's just double what we just had. Just make it really clear. Okay, 6 is going to feel better. Okay, so we're going to 6 with the gap. Perfect. And actually what I'm going to do now is just talk you through the colors. So obviously we've got this logo and this and this, and then black, and we've got gray, .500. So the best thing to do is actually to go into ChatGPT, and what we're going to do is first just like screenshot our website, right? And then I've got to be quick because I'm using Mac, and I'm just going to pull it across. And here's my prompt. Imagine I'm a senior UX designer. I don't know if this actually works, but I always do this. And I am styling this nav bar and footer, as in I'm telling ChatGPT to ignore the black background, using Chakra UI. And this is with my experience with Chakra. It always thinks it's a different version, 3.19.1. 3.19.1 help me with selecting colors for the text, logo, and hover. Logo and hover color using Chakra's built-in colors. Okay, great. So it'll give us a feedback here. So for the navbar text, use gray.700 or gray.800. Okay, let's go ahead and make those changes now. So in the navbar, we're going blah, blah, blah. We should only have this once. Let's use 700 and let's check in with how that feels. Okay, it's pretty dark, but that's cool. Let's trust in the ChatGPT. For the navbar hover, let's use pink.500. Great. Interesting that it mentioned to use purple. Love that for them. Whoa. Okay, I think I like less hot on the navbar hover, but maybe let's bear with it and see what it thinks. Gray.500 we've already got for the footer and the icons, and then pink.400 for the hover. Okay, so let's go VS Code, footer, and the hover. We've currently got as black. Let's have a look what pink.400 looks like. See, that feels better for me than like this. The pink.500 feels really hot, right? So let's go back to VS Code and we'll put pink.400 across all of our footer icons. Okay, and then actually in the nav bar, just click Control S there. We're also going to do the same, so pink.400 for that. And let's have a look how that feels. It's pretty hot for the nav bar in my opinion, but let's just trust in the process and see what they recommend. Okay, so align with your current logo color. So it's saying to go pink.400 in the logo. So what I'm actually going to do is, what color is pink.400? You could obviously get this from the docs, but let's just grab this. And what I'm going to show you in Canva, right? So this is my current logo. You just click background color and then you can search for this color, click enter, and then basically you can just change your logo. So basically what we're going to do is just download And then we're going to drop this logo into, once it's downloaded, we're just going to drop it in here. And let's delete the old one and just rename this to the same logo that we had before. So it was just named tier. And I'm clicking Control S. And let's have a look of how our website's feeling now. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how the footer feels. I actually like this hover effect. The navbar for me feels really hot. And let's have a look at what's going on there. So I thought that we changed it to pink.400, which should match this color. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we did change it to pink.400. Let's just back it right down to pink.200. Let's have a look, see how it looks. Yeah, that just feels like more like nicer for me. We can actually just screenshot this into ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT thinks. Pink.400 feels too intense. What about pink.200? See, okay, so it's saying use pink.200 for the background of the active nav item or the hover. Okay, great. And then it was, yeah, so basically that's our website. And I'm just going to quickly change the logo and the text up here. So let's just go into VS Code, and this is going to be in index.html, back to the good old days. So we're just going to replace the title to tier codes, and we're just going to change the image. So the href will be, remember we can actually use our alias path. No, we can't because it's so href. Okay, let's just use the relative import. So we're going to go copy relative import and type. I don't think you really need image type, right? And relationship icon, let's have a look how that feels. Tier codes. Okay, so there we go. If you did want to round off the corners for like so it matches, probably the best way to do it in, I'm just trying to think the best way to do it in Canva would actually be to screenshot like this and add a page and then make this background white. Bear with me. And then we're going to go edit, or it's like corner rounding. So then you can just kind of guess and use the image like this. So you would just make it slightly bigger. It obviously doesn't need to be exactly perfect for these purposes, but that's how I would do corner rounding in the logo bar. So you would just go share, download, page 2, download, and then we're going to paste that into our assets folder. Great. And what we're going to do is go to, you actually probably want to export that with a transparent background. Let's just do that because if you do have dark mode on, it's obviously going to look a little bit odd. So let's do it properly. Okay, download, page 2, transparent background, try again. Just deleting that one that was incorrect. So when you're pasting with a transparent background, it just always feels better. You can see the black outside. And then just go back into index.html and just rename that file to tier 3, I think it is. And that will round off the corners in our Dev Portfolio website. Okay, let's have a look what's happening here. Copy relative path. There we go. And you can see our corners are now rounded. So guys, that's the end of video 4. Thank you for bearing with me in this video. We've covered a heap. We've done everything. We've spoken about React quite a lot and then done a little bit of styling at the end. No shame on using any AI or ChatGPT to help you along the way. So I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video where we're going to tackle the hero and the project section, and then we've got contact, and then we're going to deploy with Vercel, and our dev portfolio website is ready to go. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.